Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Irn-Cru podcast, an NFL podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. You are listening to and watching the Review Crew, and I am your host, Brian, the conscience of Cleveland Donlan. Well, folks, week 7 has been and gone, and we have been treated to yet another incredible week of gridiron action, and we're going to be looking through it, digesting it, discussing it with you all this evening. Now, don't worry, as always, we have got our kickoff question and our statistic of the week. Now, ladies and gents, a wee reminder this week, if you didn't catch the Irn-Cru first birthday party, well, one, where were you? But two, get yourself onto YouTube, get the video watched. A wee birdie that's eagle-shaped has told me that there is a cracker of a giveaway. If you can stick with the pod through to 52 minutes or so, there is a face from Twitter who is the lady of giveaways, and you may well recognise her when you see her, who has got something special there. Now, remember, ladies and gentlemen, like, follow, subscribe the crew on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Threads, anything, everything you can find is there, wherever you get your podcasts from. Now, as always, I am joined by some of the finest members that the crew has, and a special guest tonight, no less. But we'll get to him in a minute. Now, the first person I've actually got written on my sheet isn't here yet because he's late and he's sorting things out, but we'll come to him in a minute. So, first up, he wants to know what love is, because love is certainly not a quarterback. Liam, how are you doing, mate?
I'm good. A great weekend of football that was so fun to watch.
You were so close to a victory Monday as well. You could taste it.
We didn't deserve that victory Monday, but I'll take it if we'd have got it. So.
Well, do you know, Liam, to be fair, to give you your shout, mate, ladies and gentlemen, his team might not have had a victory Monday, but in our home fantasy league, Liam has recorded his first victory Monday of the year. So he is no longer the winless team. So you've got that going for you, mate.
Only up from here, isn't it? You know, only way is up.
Yes, you're quite right, mate. You are at the back end of that table, so the only way indeed is up. Thank you very much, mate. Well, moving on, we've got giant among men. Well, I say that he's only taller than Sam Howell, and he's horizontal. It is Gav. How are you doing, mate?
Well, someone that does get to a victory Monday for a bit of relief this week. So, yeah, doing pretty good, thanks.
This is it. Yeah, Giants fans celebrating wins, Packers fans mourning losses. What year is this? And then on to our special guest. So, he's got a massive one-up on all of us because he actually knows what he's talking about. So, unlike the rest of us. So, Pete is one of the coaches for the Edinburgh Napier Knights. So, Pete, first off, welcome to the pod, mate. Delighted to have you on. Tell us a wee bit about yourself. How you get into this wonderful game? What life is like being Sir Coach.
I got into the sport right at the beginning. So back in the 80s, I know I don't look that old, but
not a day over 21, mate.
Back in the day when there was only 3 channels, and then this fabulous new 4th channel arrived, and nobody had anything to do on a Sunday afternoon. So it was Songs of Praise or This Amazing New Sport that was on Channel 4. And,
mate, every Sunday we all have that battle inside ourselves is what will we watch between Songs of Praise and Red Zone.
Yeah, and to be fair, the very first game I saw, which was 1984, Dolphins versus Seahawks in the playoffs, and I was round at my Auntie Marjorie's house, and my cousin David used to batter the crap out of me every time I went round there, and the dog was a little bit touchy-feely, that dog, so rather than being sent through the next room to play with cousin David and get assaulted by the dog, I said, no, I've got to watch telly. He said, what are you watching telly for? There's nothing on. It's a Sunday. We only have 3 channels. I said, no, there's 4. I want to watch this, whatever this is. And that was it. I was hooked. And
so So
like,
rather than being assaulted yourself, you decided it was wiser to watch other men be assaulted on television.
Yeah, that says a lot about me, I think. So yeah, I really got into it, and then in the early 80s, everybody was fascinated enough that we wanted to go play the sport. So there was a huge burst of people taking part in sport and just finding equipment from wherever. So I've been involved since mid 80s, coaching and playing. Obviously, I still love the sport and follow it whenever I can. And I've had the opportunity to coach it in the US.
Wow.
University football is what I'm involved in.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been with the Edinburgh Napier Knights. I'm the head coach there, representing. I've been there since 2009, and uniquely for any of university American football teams, we actually run a youth program. So we have an under 19s, an under 17s, and an under 13 flag team. So they run through the summer. In fact, we've got some rookie days coming up fairly soon. So if you can look us up on social media, if anybody's got young kids they want to send along to try the sport for the first time, we're based.
We will make sure to get all of your socials linked out, mate. That sounds like a fantastic opportunity for folks.
It is, and the kids are involved not just in playing the sport. We run a program that's very much about developing the kids, trying to keep them out of trouble. We're sort of building responsibility, teamwork, and there's a drop off in all sports across. Kids not wanting to get involved in organisers, there's a lack of opportunity to do it. So we're finding a way to try and get kids involved in sport itself. So we could be, I always say we could be teaching tiddlywinks, but the kids get a blast out of what we do, and we've got a great crew of coaches and players who become coaches. So it just grows and grows and grows year in, year out. So that's my plug over.
Fantastic. Now, you must have discussed this in the crew previously, but you must be somebody that is, as we all are, really excited about the prospect of flag football in the Olympics. This has kind of been announced that it's coming 20... Oh, somebody jump in and save me. What year did they say they were going to actually?
2028.
28. There you go. Thank you, boys. Yeah, it must be something that for somebody that's as involved in it as you are, you must be looking at that as a huge opportunity to really grow the sport even more.
Well, flag, it's funny because flag's almost a different version of the sport, and you find loads of ex-football players who retire and take up flag football, but also people who maybe don't like the contact side as much. And they find that more interesting, or perhaps, they don't want to risk contact. We've all got reasons not to get hurt.
Yeah.
So one of the things we're trying to do with the university team is we're growing an opportunity now for people who might just be interested in flag, because it is a growth sector with the team. It doesn't cost much.
Yeah.
And, the flag teams within Scotland, they're a great community, and there's some real good talent actually in some of the flag teams. So we're going to try and help promote that a little bit with the Knights, and also, as I say, with our under 13s, it's such a good way to introduce people to the sport in the first place.
Fantastic. Right, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard it here first. There is such incredible flag talent available in Scotland that there is a flag defender that is going to keep Tyreek on lockdown in those 2028 Olympic Games when they roll round.
Are you assuming that we're going to have a Scottish Olympic team by that point? Brian? I mean, I don't know how you do politics in this show.
well. No, hey, listen, it's great to hear it. And to be fair, Gav, you're somebody with a bit of a background in flag as well yourself, mate, aren't you? You've got a bit of history with the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think Pete's not wrong what he's saying. So, my old club and Dan's old club, the Glasgow Hornets, were your British runners-up this year. They lost the final to London Smoke a couple of months ago. And also, actually, it's worth mentioning that the women's game as well. So the GB women are the reigning European champions at the moment as well. So,
GB women's team.
Yeah, so get a few few medal prospects there. But I think, with it's really interesting to hear Pete talk about having it at the under 13s level, because I think that's something that I've seen with flag over the years, is that actually there's always been a really good core of senior teams that's kept going. But what we found, I think, particularly when the Scottish Claymores wound up in 2004, is that the legacy of kids that were coming through started to dry up for a time. And actually, the last few years, we're actually starting to see these youth programs starting up again, which can only be a good thing.
Incredible. And it's just, I'm just buzzing to see more American football in Scotland, I'll be honest. Right. Okay, gents. Well, do you know, it feels like a bit of a con of a kick-off question after that. It was a wee bit of a kick-off question. But nonetheless, on brand, and I thought of this question, so I'm sticking with it. We have got our, as is tradition, kick-off question of the week. Now, this week, we have seen we've seen a few throwback uniforms starting to come out. We know that teams around the league like to break them out. This week, obviously, we had the Eagles and the Kelly Greens. But my question for us this week to get us going, guys, what is your favourite throwback uniform jersey? Now, it doesn't need to be an NFL team. It doesn't necessarily need to be a team that are a top, that's been brought back yet. But as far as you're concerned, this is the throwback that should come back. Now, I'm going to be honest, guys. One of you has to save me from myself because I've got an honest answer and it disgusts every part of me having to say it out loud. So I'm hoping one of you guys is going to say it for me without knowing what it is. Liam, I've given you the longest to think about this, mate, because we were chatting before the pod kicked off and you said you've got one. So I'm going to start with you, sir.
A quick thinking situation. But yeah, I've stayed away from NFL because the Packers old tops, they're nice, but I prefer the new ones. So I'm going to go with the old soccer ball. The 1992 Scotland top, away top, that was white with a kind of, it was like it's probably like what was it, like a lightning strike, purple and red. I remember having that as a youth, as a child. I'm just distinctly remember thinking that was the best ever. So that's what I've gone for. I don't know if they've
I've literally just googled that top was a belter.
I think they re-released it, but I don't actually know if I think there was chat of it. I don't know if it actually ever happened, but yeah. That was just a classic. It's a classic Scotland top. That.
Oh, I like it. Respect that. Classic international top. It's always one to love. Gav, what about yourself, mate? What would be your throwback top of choice that you just look at and think that needs to come back?
Well, I don't know if this one can come back, but we kind of threw it beyond the NFL. I'm going to say very quickly, I do think that the 49ers 90s throwbacks they've got in the goal this season look spot on. But the one I'm going to go for is Scottish Claymore's 95-96 jersey. That was my big way into the sport. But I guess, remember the success of the World Bowl in '96, and also back at that kind of point with the World League, the shirts were a wee bit different. You didn't have the big numbers on the front and the back. You had the giant Claymore logo, and all the other teams on the front just looked a wee bit different. And I'm still desperately scouring eBay to try and pick one of those up, but they're pretty few and far between.
I'll be honest. I'm relatively a newcomer to the sport, so the Claymores and all the rest of it wasn't something I was aware of. I didn't follow massively at the time, but they did have some smart jerseys. They had some very smart jerseys. Oh, Pete, absolutely on point with a mini helmet, straight in there, mate.
This is my football cover, right? This is like there's nothing else in the house. It's all in this cupboard.
That's the one forgiveness that you get made for it. You can have all of the football stuff, but it must remain in the cupboard. We've all been there, mate. What about yourself? What would your throwback be that, as I say, you either love it or you bring it back?
So I'm going to have a question to you guys first. Do you have that box somewhere in your house that's just filled with all the old jerseys and stuff that you've accumulated? There's stuff that you can't even fit in anymore because you had it as a kid.
Yep.
So I've got a bunch of old NFL shirts from the 80s, including, so Gav's going to love this, a Lawrence Taylor White Giants top.
Ooh,
not a chance in hell I'm fitting in that anytime soon. That was sleek. And that White Giants top with it. Do you remember the sleeves are massive back?
Yes, yeah. They look like there was an extra pad or something should have went in the sleeves. They were just huge.
And the sleeves were that wide. Yeah. So I think we should be bringing back flappy sleeves with the bands, the armbands, like the swimming life-saving bands around the sleeves. That's what I'm going for.
Would that make the refs better or worse at spotting holding calls? Actually, no. As a Browns fan, I have no place complaining about anything associated with the Zebras this week, but more about that later. Right, okay. Gentlemen, I am thoroughly disgusted with the three of you and with myself because you've not saved me, and I now need to do it. The one, and there is a part of this that comes from my other love of being a Celtic fan. I'm going to stick with the NFL. I'm going to go hands across the divide. The Steelers Bumblebee. The old Steelers Bumblebee. It was hideous, but it was glorious.
You're not going to live that down for a while.
The Steelers Bumblebee jerseys, I love them. I loved it when Celtic had the Bumblebee, and I need to grudgingly, through gritted teeth and a pained expression, admit that I really quite like that. And I think that should come back. If I was in charge of the Steelers, I'd absolutely be bringing that as my next throwback jersey.
I think Celtic have even done it as a throwback because it was the sort of mid-90s first time round, and they've done it again since.
Yep. I don't think that the second time round wasn't quite as luminous as the first time round. Well, I don't know if that's
you couldn't get as many E numbers in it this year in that time.
Yeah. I don't know if that's just me looking back in my youth with kind of the Bumblebee tinted goggles, if you could call it that, and imagining that it was much brighter than it was, but it feels to me like that top was like day glow. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it all now. We've done our question throwbacks, and you've actually heard me say something nice about Pittsburgh. I would clip this and keep it for posterity because that is never going to happen again. Right, okay, guys, it is time to actually get stuck in to a wee bit of the Week 7 action we had with, oh my God, gentlemen, it's happened. Studs has arrived.
How we doing, mate?
It's a big chief himself. Yeah, he's the well, ladies and gentlemen, as you can no doubt pick up, the Cru's #1 Taylor Swift fan has arrived on the pod. He is with us. We just can't shake him off. We've got a case of bad blood. I don't know, guys. How many? Has anybody else been listening to the country? How many lines have I missed? There's got to be at least 2 or 3 more I could squeeze in here, surely. How are you doing, Studs? Welcome, mate.
I'm quite happy being the Gridiron Crew's anti-hero, so don't worry about it.
Oh, there he is. Smooth as you like. Right. I'll tell you what, Studs, you have arrived neatly as we were winding up the kick-off question. So I'll give it to you as well, mate, so you don't feel left out. Throwback jerseys. If you could bring back, or what is your favourite throwback jersey? Or if a team has not got a throwback jersey that you like enough, what jersey would you bring back? Doesn't need to be NFL. We've had some Scotland tops mentioned. I have begrudgingly given Pittsburgh praise and said my one would be bringing back their old Bumblebee. We've got chat of bringing back the flappy arms for the 80s. We think they should be making a reappearance. So what Studs would you bring back as your all-time perfect throwback?
I don't know if it would be so much a jersey, but how much fun would it be to watch football with the old 70s and 80s style shorts that they used to wear?
You watch the game for very different reasons than the rest of us.
It'd be absolutely horrific to see the player. Well, it'd be funny to see the players looking so uncomfortable first and foremost. You wouldn't have them rolling about as much because they'd be fearing they'd maybe fall at the side and things like that.
Is there a particular player that you want to see in these shorts? Like, we are an all-inclusive crew here, mate. You be you.
Listen, I never said men's football, did I?
That's very true, mate. Very true.
You just jumped to the wrong conclusion, my man.
Well, I'm concerned what you think is going to drop out of the women's shots. Right, okay, with that wonderful note, we're going to move on to something that's much more in tune with what we normally discuss. So we're going to get stuck in to the big games of the weekend, folks. So it was week 7. It was a cracker. Studs, you're just on and you're being kept square in the firing line, mate. And I'm going to enjoy every minute of this. Your game to tell us all about, mate. It was a cracker. It was something that is very dear to my heart. Who's it Colts?
Ah, I said, could we not just we could literally do this game in one, if you really want, and that one is Myles Garrett. The guy was, he was phenomenal. He's blocking punts, he's strip sacking, he was just, in that first half especially, the guy was unbelievable. He was literally everywhere for the Browns. And then you've obviously got Deshaun Watson being healthy. But it was probably a blessing in disguise that he went out for me. As I say, it's the Browns. I really don't know what you're going to do with Deshaun Watson, being brutally honest. But as I say, the game itself, I think most of the league do. But for me, the game was all about Myles Garrett. He absolutely just with how much a phenomenal athlete he really is. It was nice to see Gardner Minshew on the other side, obviously back to his illustrious mustachioed self, throwing the ball about, getting some big touchdowns to Josh Downs, I think, early on for like a 70-odd yarder, and Michael Pittman actually showed up with two catches, I believe it was, and somewhere in the region of 80 yards and a touchdown. So he's, and then I think we need to obviously talk about the Minshew shimmy as well. That was delightful.
That was lovely.
To say the least. So, but Myles Garrett is the one and only show in town in this conversation for me.
I say to give Minshew his credit, that Gardner Minshew, that world-renowned dual threat quarterback,
sitting in my fantasy bench, by the way.
But yeah, no, I need to say, even as the Browns fan, it was nice seeing. I've got a bit of a soft spot for Minshew. Well, I think most people around the league have got a wee bit of a soft spot for Minshew. He chucked it 305 yards, couple of touchdowns. He only had the one pick against, and putting up 38 points on what before last night, I think most people were pretty much in agreement was the number one defense around the league without many questions being thrown against it. Can you still have that conversation about a defense that gave up 38 points to Gardner Minshew? That's for another day. But it was some game. Right now, gentlemen, I'll open it to the floor. Would anybody like to rain on my Browns fan parade with my love of the game and the result? I know there's buts. I know there's caveats, asterisks that some would like to put on this victory. Would anybody like to stick the knife in and get a twist?
Well, you're extra man or extra men?
Men, plural. There's a team of them.
Do you know what? I could. There's a lot of calls that went the Browns' way, especially in that last drive, and I know just a little bit luck. But I was looking at this game from a fantasy perspective. I had the Jerome Ford and Jonathan Taylor, and I was just loving seeing a shootout. I was like, this is like both teams in the 30s, and there's still like 10 minutes to play. Yeah, just keep at it, guys. And I think the other, aside from just my fantasy team. I think Jonathan Taylor, this is probably the first time that he's really made an impact since he's kind of come back from the pup list. And I think obviously, with Richardson out and, Colts relying on Gardner Minshew, they're going to need him to make some plays down the stretch.
Well, one of the big interesting, and I'll be honest, I didn't actually, you kind of knew it as you were watching, but seeing it as a stat really makes it jump out at you. There was a total of 40-odd carries during that game, just on the Colts side. Taylor and Moss both got 18 carries ahead in that game. Which is that's a lot of work for two running backs to put up in one game. Taylor going for 75 yards. Moss was kept a wee bit more in check. He only managed to 57, which for him this season is maybe a wee bit of a statement to the defense doing its job. But outside, for a team that isn't or is renowned for its run game, yes, we've lost Chubb. God rest him. But he'll hopefully be back next season stronger and ready to go rather. But we came in at just heavy at 30 carries. But that's split between three backs with Jerome Ford going down with a high ankle sprain, I believe it is that he's been called. He's going to be out for a week or two. But the amount of running the ball in that game was incredible. And it was some really, really good in the trenches stuff that we had going on. particularly nice seeing Pierre Strong do a wee bit of work coming in to step in the particularly fourth quarter when Ford went down. Oh, well, I just like Victory Monday. I'm a Browns fan. It doesn't happen all that often, boys. You just need to let me have it. And I don't care if the refs blatantly missed 2 hideous calls.
I'm going to rain on your parade, Brian.
Go for it, Pete.
I was watching the early games on Red Zone, and I'm watching those 2 last plays. And I'm a defensive guy, right? So I'm watching those flags. Horrendous. Now, refs don't win you games or lose you games.
Yes, they do, Pete. Yes, they do.
Yes. So, I'm going to ask you, Brian, do you think your Browns are this year's Minnesota Vikings?
Oh, I think that's doing us way more credit than we deserve. Do you know what I will say for the Cleveland Browns? I was actually going to put us in the same boat as I would put and have put the New York Jets in. With the rosters as they stand right now, we are a quarterback away. If we had a good quarterback, if Deshaun Watson was the Deshaun Watson of the Houston Texans 3 years ago, we would genuinely brown tinted specs off. I would say we're a Super Bowl caliber roster, but we do not have that. We have this year's Deshaun Watson or this year's XFL legend PJ Walker. Yay! So yeah, and you've seen it the week before the bye when we got absolutely hosed because the defense was gassed. They had to stay on a game basically a full 60 minutes because it was that was DTR that was playing under center that game, and there was no offense. So as good as our defense is, they can't do it. And yes, I will admit that if that DPI call was somehow okay and that ball was catchable, Amari Cooper should actually enter the Olympics for the high jump, because it's about the only way anybody could catch that ball is if they could, go over a building in a single bound. And the illegal contact was generous. Because as nice as I can be. And we might have got away with 1 or 2 the week previous against the 49ers, but that's not the point. So anyway, I'm just going to say that the Browns are here to win the North. Maybe, providing everybody in the Ravens dies. Which, on the note of the Ravens, from one fantastic team in the AFC North to another, Liam, have we cussed the Lions? Has the crew broken them? We've spent the review crew, or the preview crew, sorry. For those who didn't get a listen to the preview crew, you should go back and give it a listen, because the love the Lions were getting was something else. And the Ravens might have rained on that parade a wee bit. What did you think, Caitlin?
It was a shootout, just a very one-sided shootout. So yeah, but then it was really weird because I was having a look back. Obviously, I saw some of the game, and then looking back at the stats, Goff still threw for 284 yards, and I think St. Brown was over 102 yards receiving as well, and Gibbs got his first touchdown eventually. Obviously, it was in garbage time, but he got a touchdown. So if you looked at that as a stat list, you'd be like, it's a reasonable effort. Obviously didn't quite as many touchdowns as they normally get in a game, but they were down 28-0 by halftime. So that's about sums it up really. No, but Ravens have been kind of funny all season. I think when I've seen them, they've kind of just been blowing hot and cold a lot. They've been having good moments, good quarters, and then not really then kind of disappearing again. But this was kind of just a complete game, I think, for them, and it was quite. It's wonderful to me. Things ahead for them, sort of thing. So we shall see. And then Lamar has put all that. It seems ages ago now. All that chat about his contract, all that sort of stuff, all that off season. That's well behind him now. Basically, a perfect quarterback rating. I think he had. So
21 and 27, 357 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 9 carries for 36 yards and a touchdown. Is there much more that you can ask from your quarterback?
No. And then obviously, because it was a tight end weekend or day or whatever it was, Mark Andrews, getting in for his 2 touchdowns as well. It's always good to see doing Mark Andrews things. So yeah,
for somebody that's been having a, by his standards, relatively quiet season, it is Mark Andrews, a wee bit of a return to form. So What does this tell us about? And say it wasn't just the Crew that have been espousing the glory of the Detroit Lions. You know, what I mean, they were 5-1 going into this game. I think most people thought the Lions were on for a good year. I don't think many would have said they were on for a 5-1 start to the year. Is this a blip? Is this them just coming up against a team that's just really bloody good? Is this the Lions going back to the bad old Lions who weren't all that sure what victories look like? What do we think? How do we see this from a Lions point of view?
I think I just saying this. If you look at the stats, it's not too bad, except from your scoreline. But I think you just chalk it to getting beaten by a team totally firing on all cylinders for that day, and just move on. I think Lions are still going to be pretty impressive all season. I think I wouldn't be too worried about them, sort of thing. So yeah, I think it's just chalk that one off, move on to next week. Which when I think we've got the Raiders next week, so that's a good bounce back game for them. So
yeah, to be fair, if you're going to move on to play any team at the moment, I'm not sure many teams would be picked ahead of the poor Las Vegas Raiders.
I think Sean Payton would like a word with that one, Brian.
Well, okay, fine. But still, I think generally we can agree they're not in great shape. Are the boys from Vegas? Right, okay, thank you very much. Right now, this, do you know, I'm really annoyed at this because this seemed like, do you know what we talk about? Is the NFL scripted? Is that did they all get together at the start of the year and have a wee chat about how the results are going to go? Well, I don't know. How about making it so that Bill Belichick, who is in dire straits, is this man on a hot seat? That seat's not even lukewarm as he rolls in for his 300th coaching victory against the Bills. A team who up to that point had actually been okay, had a bit of a dicey very start to the season, but they'd been looking good game on game. Gav, is it scripted? Is it all made up just to upset me?
You know what? I think the story coming out of this game's all been about the 300th win for Bill. But do you know what? Actually, I think for me, going into this weekend's game, my socials for some reason were filled with all these anti-Mac Jones memes and videos, and it's like I don't particularly care much about the Patriots either way. But yeah, there's a lot of folk really sticking the knife in, and you know, the guy went for it was 25 of 30, no picks, 2 touchdowns, 2 fourth quarter touchdowns. You know, he's not the second coming of Brady. He's probably not even the second coming of Jimmy G. But he did the job. He did the job on Sunday. And I guess you know, the Bills have been really bad for slow starts this year. So they were down 13-3 at the half. I think in the previous 3 games they've been outscored 3-1 in the first half against not particularly great teams with the Giants in that last 3, for God's sake. But you know,
you said it, mate.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen at the end of the guy's a gamer. Came back, had 2 brilliant scores. I think obviously one himself had just punched in on the goal line, but the other touchdown had to Stephon Diggs, sliding catch about 5 yards shy of the goal line. Didn't get touched down by anyone, so just heads up, get straight back on his feet and ploughed in. I mean, I think there's another really exciting, nail-biting game in the early window. But I mean, fair play to Mac. You know, they're trailing by 3 at the end of the game. Drive all the way down to the goal line, not settling for a field goal in overtime that they played to win. And I mean, Liam already mentioned it was National Tight Ends Day. And with Mike Gesicki grabbing the winner in that game as well. So a big win for the Pats, and pretty well deserved too.
It's an interesting one. Like this is, and I hate to beat a dead horse with this, and it is a wee bit like beating a dead horse. Are the Bills gubbed? Is the Bills Super Bowl window stuffed? All we've heard for years, they'll be there or thereabouts. You look at that roster, Josh Allen's a baller. You know, they got Diggs for the Giants a few years back. Bills. Regular season, they play well. You know, we've seen it all year. Then they make it into these big, high-pressure games, and choke. They do so little. And then it's like Bill Belichick is like the ghost of Christmas yet to come. Some spectre of death just floating about over the Bills, just trying to ruin everything that they could be. Is this one that the Bills just... There's just something lacking there, that some part of the mental side of the game that's so important. I mean, you can have all of the best athletes in the world, but if their heads aren't in the right place, you're going to get things like this happen to you. We see it all the time in sports. Is this something that the Bills are just... What's missing? What isn't there?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think... I seem to have landed in the spot of our sort of unofficial Bills correspondent. I don't know if it's all the players and front office staff that seem to fire over to the Giants at some point or other. But I mean, I had them kind of taking a bit of a step back before the season. I think I had them going 11-6 this year, and I mean, you could say that they're well on track for that. I guess they're quite fortunate. The Dolphins also lost this weekend, so they're only one game back in the division. It does feel, though, that I mean the teams that they're losing to. I mean that Jets game in week 1. I guess when Aaron Rodgers was around, you thought maybe they're gonna, that is one that'd be a tricky one for them. But when they were losing to the backup QB there, that's not really one that the Bills should be losing. Again, on paper. The Pats this weekend, that's not a team that should be beaten. They did struggle to put away the Giants the week before. I get the feeling with the Bills. I think they'll be playing in January, but I don't know how many weeks they'll get out of it.
I think you might even be... I don't know. I look at their schedule looking ahead for the rest of the year. So next week, they've got the Bucks, Thursday Night Football. So that could be a banana skin. Bucks defense is good. Baker's been serviceable. He's been playing relatively well this year. Then they're going Bengals. Okay, then it's the Broncos and the Jets, and that is what it is. But then they've got Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys, Chargers, Patriots again, Dolphins. That's a tough run-in at the end of the year. There's a lot of very, very losable games there. Are the Bills a team that are... The AFC's competitive. Are the Bills a team that we really see going to make it the whole way? What do we think, guys? Are the Bills a team who many anointed, me included, hold my hands up, to head out that AFC East at the start of the year to be making deep playoff runs? Do they have it in the tank? What do we think? Who else has got a take on that? I'll be honest. I backed the Bills for the Super Bowl and I'm feeling sore about it. Who else has got a take on the Bills and what they're building for or not?
I was just going to say, like, I think they're so banged up in defence now. They lost Milano in London, didn't they? And then was it the week before they lost? Who was it they lost the week before now? Was it Achilles? Was it White? Lost the week before. But anyway, they seem so banged up in defence. They just can't, I suppose. But then it's really weird. Like as you say, they're like the Packers. They can't score in the first half. And they can't just sustain drives, and then they just suddenly come to life. It's just a bit weird. I don't know what's going on with them. I think they just need to get some health or get some players in. Will they make some? I suppose it's come to the trade deadline. Do they make some moves in defence to refill their roster a bit? I don't know, but I'll see. Go from there.
I think I was pretty vocal about the fact I thought the Bills were overrated anyway. So for me, I'm not really that shocked about it. But I do agree with Liam. The loss of Matt Milano is going to be huge for them. He really, for me, he was like the third best player. So you had Allen, Diggs, and then Milano for me as their most talented three players. So to lose him for, I can't remember how long they've lost him for, whether it's the season or not, but that defense is going to feel it.
Yeah, Matt Milano, I hate Matt Milano. I hate him respectfully because last season he absolutely single-handedly tore the Browns a new one. And I was just sick and tired of seeing him tackle people. But yeah, so he's sidelined indefinitely. Tre'Davious White is out as well. They've lost a bunch of players all over the rest of it. But Dawson Knox has just picked up an injury as well at the weekend, so it looks like he might be out for a wee while. But although, to be fair, that does mean all of the Dalton Kincaid truthers out there who watched him get drafted by the Bills and were certain that it was the second coming of Kelsey, I've got something to maybe look forward to in that count. But yeah, it is. I'm baffled, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot get my head around Buffalo. I want to see them do well. I do have a wee odd bit of a soft spot for them for some reason, but they just aren't living up to it. Right, okay, moving on. Our last game that we're going to go into in a bit of depth. Can the Finns beat a playoff game? Do you know, I had all sorts of ideas for witty lines about this, and at the end of the day, it just comes down to, can the Finns beat actual playoff caliber teams? Pete, what did you think of the game? So it was Finns at the Eagles. Yeah, what were your takeaways?
It was an interesting game because, I mean, I've seen the Finns described as fast-track bullies the last couple of days because, you know, they're beating easy teams or lesser teams and not coming up with the goods against the bigger teams. I think that there's an element here of Dolphins, particularly in offense. They've got all those weapons and they just want to use them. And if you look at, I mean, I had a wee nerdy browse at the stats today, and the fact the Dolphins didn't even try and run the ball effectively against Philadelphia. Now, Philadelphia didn't run the ball effectively against the Dolphins in terms of yards per carry, but they still ran the ball 34 times, and they just chewed up the clock. It's the classic, what was the game? Was it Giants against Patriots in the Super Bowl, where the Giants just ran down the clock?
They wouldn't let Brady back on the park.
Exactly. And if you there's another cracking stat that I uncovered, which is 5 of the top tacklers for Philadelphia in the game, 4 of them were defensive backs.
Wow.
So that's telling you that they've done a great job of containing the speedsters that Miami have and keeping them and having really good tacklers, which is the one thing that, like, again, I'm saying as a defensive coach, when you watch the NFL, oh my God, defensive backs do not know how to tackle in the NFL because they just recruit fast guys and hope they can stay with the receivers. But Philly have got a great defensive unit and they've got great tacklers and they've got really good fundamentals defensively. And so they've done a great job of containing Miami throughout that game. I mean, saying that, Dolphins are in that game right till the end. So even although it's a 2-score game at the end, Dolphins were driving for the tie and the turnover creates a 2-score difference. So, could Miami challenge? Yes, I think they can, but they probably need to diversify. They need to have a plan B, which is run the ball, which they can do. But when they're in those tougher games, they have to realize that they just can't outrun everybody.
We've obviously seen all the quotes that it's Legion of Zoom reborn, the Legion of Zoom improved with this Miami team. Without Stud shaking his head. But we've heard it all year. And to be fair, when you put 70 points up on, it was Denver, but still 70 points is 70 points. It bears a bit of listening to. But yeah, it just seems to be whenever I think, Pete, you've nailed square in the head. Where is the plan B? And as a Raheem Mostert fantasy owner, where was plan B Miami? Is you know what I mean? He is your plan A, B, C, and D, I think you'll find. Unless I can finally convince somebody in one of our leagues to trade me Tyreek Hill. But until such a thing. We'll tell you what, it's one of these studs. I can't believe I'm about to do this. Right, ladies and gentlemen, this is twice in one pod that I've had to say something that makes me want to vomit. Can anybody, studs, come close to the Chiefs in the AFC? Or are we going to have another year of watching your smug face talk about the Arrowhead Invitational again?
Well, it certainly looks like it is going to be the Arrowhead Invitational again this year, just now. But there are good teams in the AFC. I think you look at what the Ravens done to the Lions. Let's be brutally honest. Dan Campbell said it himself. They absolutely beat the shit out of them, basically, I think Dan Campbell said. So the Ravens are starting to kind of hit a bit for them. Jags look like they're stringing a couple of wins together as well, obviously beating a good Saints defence this weekend. For me, the big test for the Dolphins is going to be Frankfurt, not this weekend, the following weekend, where they play the Chiefs. So I think they've got an easy win this weekend. I can't even remember who they're playing, but I'm pretty sure it's a good get-right game for them. So I think it'll be interesting.
They're playing the Pats.
See, get-right game. Sorry, Liam.
Not the Pats.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said
Pats. No, Pats.
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 That's why I was laughing.
It's not.
They'll beat the Pats. They bother anyway. Sorry, Scud, even though you're not here. But again, it'll be interesting to see how they do in Frankfurt against the Chiefs. And again, you're looking at the Chiefs' defence has been state 'em up this year, and we've seen it again in the second half against the Chargers, where they completely shut down Justin Herbert after the first quarter, where it looked like we were going to have a 70-70 shootout in that game. We basically shut them down. So it'll be interesting to see if the Chiefs' defence can live up to the Miami offence.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. But do you know, we're in a rare position actually this week in the pod, ladies and gentlemen, where we're actually outnumbered by NFC fans. Normally we're AFC heavy. So tell you what, I've given Studs his wee moment of getting to wax lyrical. Now, gentlemen, I'm very sorry that neither of you two follow teams that are any good at football. I thought about a nice way to say that, and then I decided not. But who do you think? Now, for weeks, and me last week was waxing lyrical about how the 49ers were the complete team in football. And don't worry, in the rest in one, I'm going to be having a wee chat with them. Who do you see as of right now, week 7's been and done, who is, if we're going to accept grudgingly that the Chiefs are the big dog at the moment in the AFC, who do you see as the big dog in the NFC? Then, Pete, I'm going to come to you for a wee bit of both, because as we discussed before we came on, Pete's a fan of many teams. He's one of those guys that wears the jumper at a Primark with every team's badge on it. So I'll get him to give us who he sees as the runners and riders across the league. But Liam, start me off, mate. Who is the team in the NFC at the minute? Is it still the Niners, even in a 2-game losing streak? Or do you see somebody else as the big dog? And don't dare say it's the Packers.
If only I could say it was the Packers. Well, as we just said, talking about still the Eagles, I think, really overall. I still think the 49ers, well, as long as they can stop getting injured again, as they always do every year, I still think they'll be there. And that's what I've kind of always had a soft spot for the Niners. Certainly recently, they're always kind of fun team to watch. So yeah, one of those two kicking about.
Best paid physiotherapist in the league. Gav, what about yourself, mate? Who is it? Are you with him in Team Eagles, Team Fly Beagles Fly? Look at the disgust in his face.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say it. I mean, I think, to be honest, Liam's talked to the two main contenders already. I think if the 49ers had managed to pick up the win overnight, then I think I probably would be saying that, yeah, you can write off the Cleveland loss. It's starting to get a few question marks now, but I still think they'll be there come season end. I guess just to give a fresh perspective, the one question we've got is still those Lions. So the Ravens game, no denying they were completely blown out. Is that a one-off, or can they come back? This is still a side that went to Arrowhead and picked up the win in week 1. Sitting pretty, and they don't have the toughest of divisions to deal with. So I think, again, we'll see the Lions playing at home in January. I don't know if they are the pick of the bunch, but I guess they're certainly the dark horse still.
Yeah, I like an alternative pick. It's always boring when everybody goes for the obvious shouts. Right, Pete, as we've said, you're a man who puts his flag on many masts. Who are your two picks? Who do you see as the big dog in each division at the minute? Your way too early Super Bowl prediction. Way too early. It's only week 7.
I'm going Philly.
Okay.
And in the AFC, I'm sorry about the Studs, but I think AFC is because it's stronger, I think they're going to knock each other out. And if you remember the Super Bowl where Kansas underperformed because everybody was injured by the time they got to the Super Bowl, because conference final, they just got smashed by the Bills in the semis, but got there. So for that reason, I'm going Baltimore.
I really hope you're wrong. It was bad enough when it was the Bengals. Can't be having the rebrand making it the tribute act.
The problem for the Chiefs is going to be the injury to Nick Bolton that was picked up, and whether he can get back soon. Drew Tranquil did look good right enough when he stepped in Sunday, and I know the team has been speaking about how intelligent he is, but is that a case of playing against his former team, he knew the plays, or is it just that he is that good a player? But Bolton's a huge loss.
Aye, big, and it's one of these next man up and all the rest of it, but there's certain players that is easier to next man up than others. And Bolton, wee bit like we were talking about with Matt Milano earlier, it's just no a name that's easy to replace in the team sheet, unfortunately. Right, okay, chaps, let us keep going and keep tracking. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, for the rest in one. As we are all used to by now, there's far too many games in this league, and I can't afford the lecky to talk about all of them in depth. So we are going to batter our way through the rest of Week 7's games. It is a one-liner, chaps, one word. Give me something that sums up the experience. Studs, you are going to be kicking me off, mate. It was Thursday night football. It was Jacksonville at New Orleans, and it was 31-24 to the Jags. Give me it in one, mate.
For me, it was Trevor Etienne shines again. Another 2-touchdown day for him. So, sorry, Travis Etienne, no Trevor Etienne, his brother.
He's much significantly less talented, brother.
To be fair, you could go with Trevor Etienne because Lawrence was good as well on Thursday night. And I think he was a top rusher overall, actually, if I remember right, to Thursday.
I would need to look at that, I don't know. There you go. So, yeah, Etienne shines again. Liam, coming to you, mate. It was the Falcons at Tampa. It was a slobber knocker at 16-13. What was your one-liner for the night, mate?
I suppose it's just rid of 3 fumbles, but still wins, I suppose. And still in the NFC South leaders, number 1. What's not to like about the Falcons, apparently?
Well, Bijan. Bijan, be gone. I don't think anybody understands what happened there. He had a wee bit of an upset tummy, maybe.
Partly it was headaches he had the night before. So
I'm sure we've all heard that excuse of I've got a headache and I can't play tonight. Right, okay. Hope somebody at home will get that joke. Gav, coming to you, mate. It was a homer. It was Washington at your very own New York Giants. It was the Giants walking away. Victory Monday, 14-7. What was your one-line takeaway?
I'll take it. It was brutal. It was brutal at times, and the Giants were hanging on at the end. But they got the job done against probably the only team in recent years that you can count on a win against. Wee bright spot from Jalen Hyatt, though, finally catching a couple of big throws from Tyrod Taylor. So hopefully there's some light at the end of the tunnel there.
Man, you've got a lot of time for Mr. Jalen Hyatt. With a lot of chat about him in the off season and the build up after the draft. There's a lot of love for Mr. Hyatt.
I know 7 weeks in, and I'm finally winning.
Finally put on the payoff. Okay, Pete, we are coming across to you. It was the Falcons at the Seahawks. It was 20-10 to the Seahawks. What was your one-line takeaway for the game?
Seahawks. Yeah, do you know what? What are the Seahawks? I have no idea.
Somewhere Pete's screaming at his radio, really angry right now.
My one line is, what are the Seahawks? Geno Smith is he good? Is he not? I have no idea. Are they?
Hopefully next week he's trash. Ladies and gentlemen, that is about the fairest assessment I actually think I've ever heard the Seahawks given. What even are you now? Right, Studs, we are coming back to you. It was Pittsburgh at the Rams. The dirty Steelers won it 24-17. Give me it in one.
And my best Ron Burgundy impression, I'm going to go with Najee scores. So, and then also you've got Brett Meyer, but I think the less said about him, he's had a rough enough week as well.
Aye, be fair, Brett Meyer can currently be found at your local job seekers centre. Yeah, GSA, mate, get yourself onto it. I'll see you right. Yeah, less said the better. Liam, we're coming back to you. Your last one leaving, mate. It was the Chargers at KC. Yes, studs, I didn't give you KC. Get it, wouldn't you? It was 17-31. KC walking away with the win. Liam, give us it in one, mate.
I was the KC offense clicked kind of the first half, and KC offense clicked.
KC offense still in a boat where KC doesn't really have an offense in the fourth quarter. It's just bizarre. But yeah, they still somehow came away with it. Scum.
They didn't need to. Mahomes gets 20 for 23 for 300 plus yards in the first half. You're happy.
Just have that one memorised to hand, did you, studs? Oh, he's insufferable, ladies and gentlemen, but we love him. Right, okay, Gav. It's Green Bay at Denver. It was 17-19 to the Broncos. I couldn't give this to him because I didn't want to do that to him. He already had to live it live. I couldn't make him relive it. Put him out of his misery, Gav.
Are we going after the low-hanging fruit here again to say where is the love? Jordan's struggling here. I guess the one other takeaway we should shout out from this one is this is actually the first time in 10 that the Broncos have held on to a halftime lead. They've not won a game we've been winning at halftime in almost 2 years. So well done, guys.
I didn't know that. Thanks for making it even better for me. So.
Imagine what a team talk. I'm imagining now the Broncos taking like a timeout as their oppositions on a drive just before the half, and head coach, right, guys, just let them get this one in. Let them get this one in. They'll go ahead at the half, and then we stand a chance. Because in 2 years we've not managed to hold on to a first half. Wow, that's a stat I did not know. Right, Pete, it is the second last game. It was the headline event of the weekend. Raiders at Bears, those two NFL juggernauts. It was 30-12. The Bears walking away with the win. What did we give me it in one, mate? Round this one out.
Div 2 quarterbacks for the win.
We need to love Mr. Baguette.
I mean, you give me all the peachy games, aren't you?
Yeah, well, to be fair, I actually enjoyed it. For the bits of the Bears game I caught, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm enjoying watching the Baguette just because it's absolutely bizarre.
Wait, did you see the quote? I don't even know the guy's name, the quarterback for the Bears.
To be fair, to give him his actual name, is it just Baggett? It doesn't have a strange accent on it. I think it's just Baggett.
Yeah. So he came out with this quote that's like, never let anybody tell you can't do. It was that old, keep your feet on the ground, but reaching for the stars. Like, well done,
he's that.
Good on him.
He's that well known that I've literally just tried to throw Baggett quote, and given Baget is not exactly a very common surname, I've thrown it into Google, and Google refuses to give me anything that is not about baguettes or budgets. So he's that well known, ladies and gents. But hey, Victory Monday is Victory Monday for the Bears.
Is it no Badgent? Is it no Bagent?
Badgett, you're right.
Oh, you go. That'll be why. There you go. He's that well known. I can't spell his name.
I'm glad one of us on the school knows what I'm talking about.
Listen, I was calling Travis Etienne and Trevor earlier, so I'm certainly not blameless.
Aye, yeah. Well, to be fair, I think Div 2 quarterbacks, we give ourselves a wee bit of a buy on that one. Right, okay, and to round off the last of the suite of games, we had the Niners at the Vikings. It was Monday Night Football, and it's this one I was keeping off on myself. Primetime Kirk is back. Daddy cool. The chains were back. Minnesota somehow walked away with a 22-17 lead, and yet to give it in one, Addison, he is him. What a play. The takeaway touchdown, incredible from Addison. JJ, who needs him? Replaced. He's not really. Vikings fans, don't worry. JJ will be back soon, I'm sure. Right. Okay, gents, we are building up towards the end of our podcast for the evening. Now, it wouldn't be the Gridiron Crew without our statistic of the week. And I'll be honest, ladies and gentlemen, when I found this one, I was so delighted with myself, and I've been extra careful not to let any of tonight's crew in on it so they can all have a wee guess. Now, Studs, I seem to be throwing you a wee bone constantly tonight, because this one is a Chiefs statistic of the week. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, I think it is fair to say, have an incredible connection. Now, they have connected on, as of this pod, at least 28 of the last targets dating back to week 5. But my statistic / question is based on just the general completion probability of achieving that. What is the percentage chance that happens? What are the odds that Patrick Mahomes manages to connect with Travis Kelce in 28 of the last attempts that he's had with him going back all the way to week 5? So, as a percentage, what do you reckon? How likely is it? Studs, I'll come to you last because it's a bit of a homer question for you. Now, boys, I'm going to give you all a wee hint. It's not a big number.
What's on, not 70% or something?
I'll go on it just as I see you on the screen, guys. We'll start with Liam. You are just next to me. What do you reckon? What is the percentage chance of that happening?
Since you've given a clue, I'll go low then. I'll go 7% then. I'll go low.
7% likelihood. Okay, mate.
Yeah.
Gav, what about yourself? What do you reckon? What's the percentage chance that connection stays that true that much? This is what Gav needs to remember that he's muted. He's a technical wizard, ladies and gentlemen. He's talking through the mute.
He does need a good reminder. I'll go lower with 2%.
2% chance. Right. Head coach Pete, what do you reckon?
I'm going lower. Whatever Stud says, I'm going lower than that.
Nah, brother, no playing that game. I'll give the big chief for last night. It's his team.
All right, 0.01%.
Okay, 0.01%. Studs, we're coming to you. What is the percentage chance that connection stays that true?
I was going to go at 5%. To be honest, that was my initial gut instinct.
The answer.
Can I just say before you actually give the answer, the connection actually broke this week. Kelce did have a drop on one of the targets. I think
he did, but up until that.
Yes.
Up until that, right? The actual answer, I mean, somebody that was alarmingly close, ladies and gentlemen. 0.03%. It's a 1 in 3,000 chance that they make that stick. It is incredible. And yeah, just think, ladies and gentlemen, if you want your team to have such an incredible connection between your quarterback and one of your star players, all you need to do is get an exceptionally famous pop star to attend all of your games and wave at them from the crowd. I recommend somebody goes, well, like, can we get one of the players like to shack up with Neil Diamond? Do we reckon that would have the same impact? Tom Jones or something like that? Right. Okay, chaps. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our review of Week 7 in the NFL. Now, remember, ladies and gentlemen, you can keep in touch with the crew via Twitter. We are at Gridiron-Crew. On Insta, it is grid_iron_crew. Stick Gridiron Crew into threads, stick it into YouTube, into Twitch. You'll find us there. And as always, you will find us wherever you get your podcasts. Help the community grow. Give it a like, give it a subscribe, all the rest of it. Another reminder, folks, if you have not had a chance yet to watch our first birthday pod, get yourself onto YouTube, particularly to give that one a look. As I've said before, there is a wee eagle-shaped birdie who's told me that there is a belter of a giveaway in the middle of that pod. So give it a watch. Make sure you get yourself in with a chance to win what is, frankly, an absolutely incredible prize. If you win it, I know for a fact it will make you feel invincible. So, it is time to say goodbye after a good week of football, folks. We are now just looking forward to week 8. And remember, guys, week 8 starts on Thursday night live with the preview crew. And if you can't catch them live, you can always catch them when you get your podcast as well. Gentlemen, it has been fantastic to talk football with you all. Liam, thank you very much for coming on tonight, mate.
Thanks as always. Always good to chat.
Gav, as always, mate, it has been a pleasure to have you on with us. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks very much, guys.
Gavin remembered he was muted that time, folks. Studs, it is a pleasure, and I'm going to stop saying nice things about the Chief in next pod. I'm going to start getting stuck in these again.
Listen, a week off's always good, and we can then start talking about the Arrowhead Invitational again.
Oh, it's your bye this week, isn't it?
No,
I'm going to contract.
After the Frankfurt games are by. And we
Oh, right, okay. I was going to say, I think I'll wait for you to lose the bye.
No, we play the Broncos this week, so we're obviously running scared.
Goodness, a bye. Right, okay, and last but by absolutely no means least, Pete, thank you so much for coming on tonight, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on and to give us some of your wisdom from a man who knows this sport oh so well. Look at him rolling his eyes, being all back. Thank you very much for coming on, mate.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure, gents. Thank you for having me.
Right, okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is us for this week. And until next week, we will see you then.